Hi, my name is Ben Sutter III, and I'm founder and owner of BS3 Radio. I've been podcasting for 5 years, and with BS3 Radio, it has grown to over 46,000 listens and downloads. I've helped hundreds of people to start a podcast by giving them the knowledge, tools, and confidence to be successful. Now I'm here to help you do the same with BS3 Coaching. So let's build a successful podcast. I will be your podcast coach. We'll be able to work one-on-one. I won't be giving you a booklet and just telling you to look over it, but we'll be working one-on-one, side by side, to either help build up a successful podcast or to take your podcast to the next level. So click the link above or below to check out the pricing. I look forward to working with you, and God bless. All right, welcome everyone to Late Night with BS3, and tonight we have a great show. We'll be talking Sweet 16, which is now turning into the Elite 8, and also we'll be talking about NBA trades. We had quite a few trades up to the trade deadline, so we'll be talking to Eric Smith of the Ear Hustling Podcast, a part of BS3 Radio, and then coming on in about 30 minutes, we will have Rory Mitchell of the Mitchell Report Unleashed. He has an excellent podcast as well. So let's bring Eric aboard. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Ben. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Doing good. So we started a BS3 Radio bracket challenge, and throughout this challenge, I've found my bracket extremely busted and disgusted. I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing some of the same things. But talk about your bracket. Did you do a bracket this year?
I didn't do an official bracket, but I'm rolling, with the maize and blue. University of Michigan. Picked Michigan to win it all. Felt so good about Michigan winning it all. This was before the injury. I even placed a couple of little light bets, for U of M to win the national championship. So I'm still feeling pretty good, despite the fact that there's some injuries that are going on. But yeah, I feel pretty good about Michigan chances. I was a little scared when they played LSU because that was like their first real test, since their freshman guard got injured. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident about UAM.
Good. Yeah, I'll be honest. I had them in the Final Four. I had them winning the whole thing, and then I seen the injury, and I haven't watched very much, Michigan basketball. But I'm thinking maybe this freshman may affect their chances. But they seem to still be rolling. Now, they got a big test tomorrow. They'll be playing Florida State. Florida State's a tough test out of the ACC. But it's Juwan Howard. And you can't count them out just because he is, with his NBA knowledge and, him being able to kind of coach young players in the NBA, now doing it now at Michigan. I think, you can't count him out for that reason.
Absolutely. Michigan was very fortunate to get Juwan Howard. Before he agreed to take the Michigan jobs, his name was really, really, really hot in terms of head coaching jobs in the NBA. But when the Michigan job came up, he was like, you know what? He was like, I gotta shoot for it.
Yeah.
So that was his dream job. And luckily for U of M, they were smart enough, to snatch Juwan Howard up. And now, 2 years into it, he's competing for a national championship.
Exactly. I mean, that just shows, and especially it's your alma mater. Like if this was Wisconsin, if this was University of South Florida or something, you probably would have been like, nah. But this is Michigan. This is where his name was built, a part of the Fab Five. So I think it's really telling that he took this job. And then, the second year, it's his second year, right?
Yeah, this is his second year.
Yeah, second year in. I mean, he's trying to take his team to win it all, and they had one of the best records, if not the best record. I think Gonzaga had the best record, but they were like second.
Yeah, I think Michigan maybe one real true loss. The other loss that they had, it was like they were pretty much resting their players. Just kind of getting the feel of how the rotation was going to go. Because they did have some injuries, but Michigan has some depth. Don't get it twisted. Michigan is not a one-man team. And as great as the Fab Five was when Juwan Howard was playing with them, you had stars all around, but everybody has a role. Juwan have those guys playing two-way basketball. It's not just, you're going to shoot. It's like everybody is playing defense. Everybody's got their hands up. Everybody is barking out orders. Hey, you know what? Get this guy, get that guy, box out. So Juwan Howard's got them guys playing the right way.
Yeah, and I am a strong proponent of former NBA coaches coaching in college. And let me give a shout out to Mocha Bella. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Let me know how your bracket is going. Everybody tuning in, let me know how your bracket is. It busted? Is it doing good? Is it doing bad? Is it average? But that's the one thing I always say is like these NBA coaches or former NBA players need to go back to college. That's where the real training is done. The NBA, I get it. That's going to be probably more paying. It could possibly be more rewarding. But if you want to really train up the next generation in the sport of basketball, going to college is really, I think, the best possible way to do it. So I would definitely respect Juwan. Let's go to a couple of games from today. So we're going from the Sweet 16 to the Elite Eight. We have a couple of teams already in the Elite Eight. We're going to start off with Baylor. Baylor beats Villanova. And my bad, Villanova fans. I had Villanova losing in the first round to Winthrop.
Ooh, wow. Well, wow. No faith at all, huh? You with little faith.
Yeah, I went all the way in. Eric, the other Eric of Eagles versus Everybody, he's a Winthrop alum. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe he has something. In Villanova, maybe they're not as strong, but I was completely wrong. I shot myself in the foot early on with this bracket. But Baylor was the number one seed. They end up going ahead. I'm not really surprised there because I have them going to the Final Four. What's your thoughts on Baylor?
You know what? I'm still not 100% sold on Baylor. You mentioned Winthrop. They only beat them by 10 points. So they only beat them by 10 points. And so when you think about a powerhouse team, you know what? I'm like, yeah, okay. You know what? I'm thinking, I'm just not really sold on Baylor, to be honest. But you know what? It is what it is. They're a good, strong team. But when you start getting down to your Elite Eights and your Final Fours, it's a dice roll. It's all about coaching. It's about execution. To me, it's really about your bench too.
Yeah, that's true. When you get down to the nitty gritty of the X's and O's, it's going to come down to, what plays you call. It's going to come down to what players you have in, what defense you're running. A lot of those kind of, things are going to come down to it. James, I believe this is James with his comment. My bracket busted quicker than a 15.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
I'm not, y'all can read.
Lord have mercy. Yeah, please don't get yourself in trouble. James and his James-isms.
Mocha says, I have Michigan, Gonzaga, Houston, and Baylor. That's a good one because Illinois is out of there. I had Illinois, going to the Final Four. That one shot me in the foot. I actually had them in the Final Two. So really? That was, that sucks a lot for me. I'm not really doing that well in the pick'em. But Baylor, I still got a shot with Baylor. They're going to be playing Arkansas. And shout out to Oral Roberts. They lost in a close one. I was watching that game right before the show, man. The kid just looked heartbroken. Not Abrams. I think it's
I thought it was Abrams too, but it was he wear number one. But you know what? Him and Smith has great games. Between the two of them, you know what? They fought hard. Even when they had a big lead, and then even during the comeback, you know what? They stayed tough. They stayed gritty. I felt really bad for them. I really did. I really wanted Oral Roberts to pull the upset.
Yeah, I did too. It was what 72 at the end, going towards the end of the game. He Max Abrams had a shot at the end of the game, but it just didn't fall. But you feel for the kid. They had a good Cinderella run. I don't remember Oral Roberts, my lifetime ever being in a position to make it to the Elite Eight. I don't know about you.
Well, I'm a little older. I remember them having a run back in the 90s. Like in the mid 90s, they had a little run, but even when they had their Cinderella run in, it was like, okay, they pulled, it was like a 14 seed versus I think they were playing like the 3 seed or something like that. But them boys play tough. You can't discount those smaller schools, like Oral Roberts, what's that, Loyola Chicago, like Oregon State. Those teams have been on some pretty impressive runs.
Yeah, and Oregon State, they went through, so they beat Loyola Chicago, which had another run with their. You see that comment to the side by your co-host?
No, what did that crazy guy say?
He says, "I will always cheer for Oral." I mean, Oral Roberts.
Is your wife asleep, man? Does your wife know that you're up like past it? You are up way past your bedtime.
I love you, James. I love you.
Oh my God.
Shout out to Anthony Lansden. That's AKA Big Illinois. That's his nickname. Everybody got nicknames. When you go on Facebook, they got the government, unless you got something different. But Loyola Chicago Falls, they were ranked 8th. I mean, they came into this season or this March Madness kind of with a target on their back because they've already, upset some teams. So now being ranked 8th, they had kind of an interesting battle. It wasn't like a surprise this year, and I think that's why they ended up getting beat by Oregon State. Oregon State, that was a surprise alone by itself. So they got an opportunity to. They're in the Elite 8. They'll be playing against either Houston and Syracuse, which is on right now. That's another good matchup. But kind of like what you said, Oregon State was a surprise as a smaller, Pac-12 school.
Yeah. The Houston-Syracuse game, I'm picking Syracuse.
Okay.
Because you figure there's at least one upset that's going to happen in a Sweet 16, and I'm thinking that's going to be it. Plus, they're a well-coached team, and they started to come together late. So no, it's not Jim Boeheim. That is Jim Boeheim. I think it's the coach of Syracuse.
And then his son is Buddy. Buddy man. Boeheim. So man, whenever you got your son, involved, I guarantee you, he's going to try to do everything he possibly can to get them to that next step. And I agree with you with Syracuse. And plus they play, tough ACC basketball. ACC is a tough conference. People sometimes sleep on them because Duke and North Carolina aren't in it. But for Syracuse to be in it and to play Houston, I consider Houston a smaller school when you look at college basketball. As of right now, it's 8-2. Houston is up, but it's a long game, just kind of kicking off. But I would love to see Syracuse move on.
It definitely, that boy can ball. Buddy can ball.
Yeah.
And to have like somebody like that, giving you like the X's and O's and all of the, all of like the, I guess you call it like the mind preparation for the game of basketball.
Right.
That kid can ball. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, make it to the NBA. And maybe he may not be a star, but because he's fundamentally sound.
Yeah, and plus his dad is a coach. So I mean, when you're a coach's son, you got a different level of understanding of the game, and plus your dad probably knows people. So I mean, like, hey, he can shoot somebody a text and say, hey, give my son a tryout or something. Who you know is also important as how well you play in college.
Absolutely. I've got a question for you. None of these teams are in the tournament, but how do you feel about like Duke not making it to the tournament, Kentucky not making it to the tournament, North Carolina not making it to the NCAA tournament? That's a weird year.
That's a weird year. I think COVID was a huge aspect of it. We have a show on BS3 Radio called Cats Talk Wednesday. They talk in Kentucky sports, and their biggest thing was, Coach Cal always has these top freshmen that come in and they just ball out the minute that they step on campus. Well, he didn't really have that this year. He didn't have that standout star as well as Duke. I don't think Duke had that standout star, but it is extremely weird. I think it's probably 20, 30 years since the last time that this has happened with neither one of them are in. And also the other part, like you said, North Carolina, they were in, but they got knocked out in the first round. That hasn't happened, in all of Roy Williams' tenure. So, it's a crazy tournament, and I think we're gonna have an unexpected champion. A lot of people picking Gonzaga. I even picked Gonzaga. and they seem to be in the driver's seat. But yeah, it's just it's a weird year to be watching the tournament. But I got to say, I am thankful that the tournament is on, because at least last year, that's how I knew COVID was real, when they canceled the NCAA tournament. Because you got to think how much money they make. Abilene Christian, I don't know if you heard about that story.
They won the 2A championship, didn't they?
Yeah, but Abilene Christian, for being in the tournament, they made $120 million. Just for being in the tournament. They gained $120 million. They beat Texas. They upset Texas in the tournament. But you got to think, if that's for Abilene Christian, it's no telling how much Dukes of the world, Kentucky, Blue Bloods. I'm wondering how much they make just for being in
$120 million for and I disrespected them by calling them a Division 2A school. My bad. Anybody out there from Abilene, you know what? I'm sorry. I apologize. You're not a 2A school, but $120 million for a small school like that. My goodness.
Yeah, what they could do with that money, or what they're going to be planning on doing with that money, is crazy. Probably new facilities, upgrading stuff, all of that. Let me give a shout out to Taryn Rodriguez. He says, good evening, Ben and friend or friends. Yep, we got Eric here. He says, Oral Roberts, Cinderella story has ended. It was fun while it lasted. Yeah, I mean, you gotta, when you get into this tournament, obviously you gotta win the X amount of games in a row. And if you can go on a run, it's a great story. Even if you go on a little bit of a run, I guarantee you Max Abrams has made a name for himself. Same thing with CJ McCollum. He was playing for Lehigh back in the day. He made a name for himself. Gordon Hayward, when he was playing for Butler, his future, I think is high. Is very
very solid.
Very solid. Yeah, exactly. Because I think NBA scouts are going to be watching for him. So that's a good
what you bring up somebody who came up money in the tournament. Let's talk about Steph Curry when he was over at Davidson. Nobody really heard of Steph Curry. I mean, you knew he was Dale Curry's son,
right?
But it's like, well, this kid can shoot. This kid might, you know what? Golden State, we'll draft him, and we'll see what happens. They didn't have any big expectations for Steph to come out like that.
No, they didn't.
Draymond Green over at Michigan State. Nobody thought that he would be, that type of player. And then some of the, examples that you gave, who's going to be the next big star that's going to just come out and you'd be like, wow, like Michael Jordan when he was over at North Carolina. Nobody thought that MJ would be like that.
No, they had him, he hit that shot, I believe it was 1982. But I don't think anyone could even imagine how well he would have been in the NBA. Because I know, like James Worthy was pretty highly touted. Sam Perkins, I think, was even more highly touted than Jordan was.
It was James Worthy's team. It was James Worthy's team at the time when Michael Jordan hit that shot. So, it's the difference from the development from a 4-year player, versus somebody who just has 1 year.
Right. True. Terrence says, I got Gonzaga, Arkansas, Michigan, and Oregon State. That could possibly happen. I'm agreeing with you that could possibly go down. He says, I hope USC gets by Oregon and eventually Gonzaga. It would be a sight to see. Yeah, USC has gotten further along than what I thought. I had them going out against Kansas, but that didn't happen. And it's been quite a few upsets. Let's talk about the games for tomorrow, which we kind of touched on a couple of them. But Gonzaga and Creighton, and I want to get your opinion on it. If Gonzaga doesn't win it this year, I don't think they will ever win it. It's almost like the cards are put in place for them to win this year. And I'm not going to say everybody, but I'm going to say a large majority of people have Gonzaga winning it all. So if they don't do it this year, I don't know if it'll ever happen.
You know what? Gonzaga, if they run the table, what is it, like 37 or 38? No, if they run the table.
Yeah.
That is hard to get up for every game when everybody is taking a best shot at you. Now, you're talking about the cream of the crop. Creighton, they're number 5 seed, but Creighton is capable of knocking off anybody.
Yep.
And then if they happen to get by them, then who are we looking at? Give me 1 second. Then they're looking at possibly, actually, I think Arkansas, they would wind up playing. Hold on, let me make sure that I get my facts right. Yeah, so I think that they would wind up playing Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken. And then, it just gets even thicker. Then you got like Michigan, you've got Alabama. Man, it's gonna. I think it's gonna be tough. I don't think that Gonzaga's gonna do it. I think that they're gonna fall. I think that they'll get past Creighton, but I think that Michigan, Alabama, Baylor, and they'll beat Baylor. But Michigan and Alabama, I think, will be their two toughest tests if they go up against either one of them.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be easy. It's not a shoe-in for them. But I think if there was any year, this is the year you got to do it, because you got Jalen Suggs, the freshman, and they got other players on that team that I don't really know, because Jalen Suggs, the last game, he had 8 points or something. He had minimal points. So the other guys are really, the ones putting in the buckets. Let's see. Terrence says, Ben, Kansas was missing 3 key players. USC was a lock for the Sweet 16. That's a good point. And Kansas was not the same team, so I do agree with you there. So Gonzaga and Creighton, these are the games for tomorrow. I got Gonzaga, I agree. USC, Oregon. This should be a good game. Oregon was the 7th seed, USC the 6th seed. And this is a conference game. They're both in the Pac-12, so they already, I would think, both of these teams should know each other pretty well. Now the tournament could possibly change things, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go ahead and go with USC. I'm gonna pick USC. I had originally Kansas and Iowa, and neither one of those are in there. So that side of the bracket is busted. But USC or Oregon, who you got?
You know what? I'd probably go with USC.
Yeah.
USC. I think it's just like too much shooting. I think they're just going to be a little bit too fast for Oregon. So I got to go with USC.
Yeah. Terrence says this has to be the year Gonzaga wins it. If they don't, then they'll never live it down. I agree. And I'm a North Carolina fan. That those of you who don't know, you should know, because that's all I would really say. But that was that one year that they played North Carolina in the tournament, and they were favored to win, and they didn't win it then. And they've had amazing records, man. If anybody goes back to the history of Gonzaga, they've had great seasons. It just did not add up to a championship. So we'll see if it happens.
Yeah, you go back to when John Stockton was playing for Gonzaga. Mm-hmm. I know this probably dating myself, but ever since John Stockton came out there and put them on the map, it's always been an expectation for them to at least make the tournament. I've got a question. If Gonzaga doesn't win it, would you think that would be more of a disappointment for them not winning it, or when the Fab Five was together and they didn't win it?
Ooh, I would say the Fab Five would be more so. Man, that team there, like to have those freshmen, and they all went to the league except I always forget that guy's name. What was
Ray Jackson?
Ray Jackson was the only one.
Yeah.
If he did get drafted, I don't know if he just didn't.
He played overseas and balled out overseas, but everybody else got drafted.
Yeah, and had great careers and are still doing great right now, and whatever else they're doing. So, but I would have to say Fab Five for sure. Adam Morrison, that's a great name, James. Adam Morrison was one of those guys from Gonzaga that was highly touted. He started off with the Bobcats. That was when the Charlotte Bobcats were still going on. He didn't make it. He didn't make it that far though.
No, he had a nice mustache though, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he had those that cat whisker mustache. Where you like, man, you need to shave that off, man. Somebody need to tell you, your mom, somebody, your roommate, somebody need to tell you to shave that off. USC beat Oregon the first go round, and USC didn't have Isaiah Mobley. Both teams have improved. Should be a good matchup. Also, James says definitely the Fab Five. That was, and especially how it happened. With the timeout, with Chris Webber just so much under pressure that he cracked. And I don't know, he never got a chance to get a championship at any level. He didn't get one maybe he got one in high school possibly, but he didn't get one in the NBA, and he barely missed one at Michigan. So it's heartbreak.
Yeah, I think he missed one over in Sacramento when they had that great team where it was Vladdy and him and Peja Stojakovic and Doug Christie and Mike Bitt. Yeah, well, he was just snake bitten. He just wasn't meant for him to win the chip.
Yeah, and that sucks, man, for guys that put in work, but still, it just sometimes it just doesn't add up. He won a ring with the Lakers, and Terrence says, didn't Adam Morrison win a ring with the Lakers? I'll look it up. I think he did. He was on that team. I always remember seeing him on the sideline with the sports coat and the jeans with Kobe. When Kobe was playing. Yeah, 2-time champion. Wow.
What? Adam, really?
Wow. 2009 and 2010.
Wow.
This guy. This guy got 2 rings for doing absolutely nothing. But hey, if you're on the team, you get a ring. Even if you're the towel boy, you get some level of a ring. So much love to Adam Morrison, whatever he's doing now. Don't pawn those rings, Adam. Keep them.
Yeah, Kareem pawned his. Don't pawn yours.
Yeah, even when times get tough, you put it in a safe somewhere. So Michigan, Florida State. I know what you're gonna say, but give me some reasons, a couple of reasons why you got Michigan beating Florida State.
Michigan is just such a deep, talented, and well-coached team. Juwan Howard, was up under the Eric Spoelstra tree, which he was up under the Pat Riley tree. So in terms of being able to run a team from a personnel standpoint, a motivational standpoint, Juwan Howard's got those boys playing. It's the next man up. Okay, you lose your superstar freshman. It's like, hey, you know what? You got 5-star recruits that are sitting on the bench waiting to get their opportunity in.
Oh yeah.
And no disrespect to Florida State, but I just don't see Michigan losing to Florida State. I really don't see Michigan beating Gonzaga. I don't see Gonzaga, beating Michigan, honestly, because of the Juwan Howard pedigree.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there. I got respect for Florida State because they're in the ACC. But from what we've seen so far, Michigan has been fine. Their first matchup, they beat Texas Southern. No surprise there. Then they beat LSU by 8. By 8, and now they're going to be playing Florida State. So, I have my doubts, but they're still playing well, and I think they are going to make it to the Final Four. Even though I didn't have them there, I think they will make it to the Final Four just because they've got the X factor, which is Juwan Howard, which if he can probably see into the future, if you will, and come up with a game plan and a system that works, for his guys. Say that again, Coach Spo and Pat Riley, Heat Nation. She's in Miami, so she's a big Miami Heat fan. Yeah, he was instrumental in them winning, those championships there. So, big shout out to him. And I want to ask you this: I've heard a rumor that there's NBA teams calling Juwan to come back to the NBA and coach an NBA team. How soon do you think he'll do that? Or you think he'll stay at Michigan for a long term?
I see Juwan having like a Coach K sort of run. You stay here as long as you want. I don't really see Juwan Howard going for just any NBA job. He's got Michigan, on the road, kind of like the same thing that happened with Brad Stevens when Brad Stevens was coaching and over at Butler, and he kept getting all of those coaching offers. And then he was like, nah. But then when Boston came to call, and he was like, oh, Boston?
Yeah.
So,
he perked up.
Juwan, I would have perked up too. I mean, we're talking about coaching Boston. So I would have been gone too. I'd be like, you know what? Hey, y'all deuces. I don't see Juwan just leaving for any type of job. What comes to mind, Jim Boeheim, who was coaching Michigan and then left for Cleveland right after LeBron left. Yeah, he doesn't want to deal with one of those situations.
Nah.
So I don't see him leaving within the next 5 years unless the Miami Heat job, for example. I could see him leaving for the Miami Heat job because of the Pat Riley connection. The Laker job opens up. I could see him taking something like that, but I don't see him leaving Michigan anytime in the near future. Yeah,
I was just thinking that too. The Laker job, one of those high-profile jobs, a Clippers job, one of those where it's a high-profile team that already has players. I'm pretty sure you probably don't want to go into, the Kings or somebody like that. That just doesn't seem like that'd be a good look. All right, the last game before we head over to the NBA talk, UCLA versus Alabama. And we should not be talking about Alabama being in this position. We just frankly should not be talking about this. But I'm actually going to go with Alabama. I think just watching them play in a couple games, they seem to be a lot better than what their team historically is.
Yeah, I'm a hater though. I don't want to see them winning a national championship in football and basketball. I'm sorry, I'm a hater. I'm going for a UCLA. But you know what? Look how many Pac-10 teams that we were actually talking about that are in the Sweet 16.
That's true. It's almost shocking. I was not expecting the Pac-12 to be this good. Just being honest. And then you got the Big Ten has had a lot of teams in here as well. And the SEC right now already with Arkansas moving on, Alabama. Mm-hmm. And then you got some other teams kind of mixed in there. But yeah, I think it's been a pretty surprising year kind of based on conferences and where they are. But shout out to all the teams that have gotten here so far. You can't deny their ability to tough it out against top teams across the country. So,
okay, wow, but James thinks that Florida State is going to win, huh?
Really? What?
Am I reading that correctly?
He said missing senior Isaiah Livers is going to be big. I love Michigan, but FSU beats Michigan. I thought that kid was a freshman. He's a senior.
Now, Michigan's had a couple of injuries, but James, it don't matter who's injured. They've got a talented team. So you know what? Next man up. You know what? Michigan is going to get by. I mean, if you really feel that strongly about it, James, we could put a little side wager on it. Because by the time our podcast comes up on Thursday, we can have a little fun and discuss that. What you say, Montgomery?
That sounds like a good idea. Put your money where your mouth is.
That's right. And we're not talking about that monopoly money either.
Talking about the real money. All right, so let's switch gears to some NBA talk. We had some trades this week. And also we'll be back next week. We'll be talking about the bracket as we'll get closer to our Final Four by next weekend. So we'll be talking about that. But let's bring in another guest, my man Rory Mitchell of the Mitchell Report Unleashed. What's going on, fam?
What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, Roy, how are you?
I'm good, Eric. Good. I'm good. Ben, how you guys
got doing? Got the triple B shirt on, representing.
Yes, I do.
All right, but how you been though, man? It's been a minute since we talked.
I've been productive. I've been busy and living through this COVID mess, but getting the job done.
Yeah, I've been watching you on social media, man. The post, the content has been superb. So
appreciate
keep doing it.
Thank you. Appreciate you, my man.
So before we get into the NBA trade talk, let's go to a couple of comments. Terrence says, no thanks. I'm happy with Frank Vogel, a coach who has more series wins with the Lakers than Doc Rivers had with the Clippers. But look, and I'll say this, and let's get everybody's opinion. If things start to go sour, that he will be out the door with the quickness. If LeBron and AD don't start seeing eye to eye with Frank Vogel, I guarantee you they're not got no sympathy for Frank Vogel. He will be out of there and to be able to get somebody else in. But Rory, since I just brought you in, I want to get your take on that comment.
The Lakers are injured right now. They're banged up. So the way I look at it personally from the optics is, with LeBron still down, AD still down, we have to ask ourselves this question: is it really on Frank Vogel or is it on this team? We have to start looking at, the rising star of Kyle Kuzma to start playing the basketball that he needs to start playing. Has his development been slowed down? So I feel like the Lakers are in an interesting position, right? So slipping in the standings is going to happen. I have them pegged at least 6 to 7 seeds. So you can't put it too much on Frank Vogel. You got to put it more on the players here. This is the reason why you have the supporting cast.
Right. And that's a good point. And also, with LeBron and AD not playing, I guess you mentally that they're going to come back. But they don't have. It seems like they don't have that scorer though to step up when both of them being down. And I'm sure they didn't even expect both of them to be down at the same time. Maybe one and the other, but not both at the exact same time, which I think is kind of a huge blow for them. But Eric, what's your thoughts?
You know what? The Lakers are going to be fine. As far as a coaching change, I mean, they are the defending NBA champions. So he's still in a honeymoon period. So I think it's too soon for people to hit the panic button. I'm not a LeBron super fan. You know, I do respect LeBron and all that he does for the game. But you know what? The Lakers are going to be fine. The question is whether or not AD. I'm not really worried about LeBron. LeBron, you know, the dude's body is a temple. He's like, what, 35, 36 years old? Looks like he's about like 20 years old. AD is the one who I'm worried about. You know, injury prone, you know, since he came into the league. That's the one I'm worried about. If AD's not healthy, they're not winning a chip. LeBron is going to be there. LeBron's going to get his. But LeBron needs that one guy, that one other superstar that's near his level, so all of the focus isn't on him. And that's why AD's there. I mean, you saw that basically in the NBA Finals last year when everybody was collapsing on LeBron and AD kind of struggled early in the series. When AD came around, it was unstoppable. So if we get him, if AD comes back 85%, Lakers going to repeat.
Yeah, and I think AD is just one of those weird players, man, where when he's on, he's literally unstoppable. But he can sneeze wrong and break his ankle. Like, I mean, he's just one of those like weird type of guys where he's got the extreme talent, but you know, at some point in time, he's going to get injured at some point in time in the year. And it's just, it's the truth. We got the wager right here. James says I got 20 on the bet. So
no problem. Say no problem. You need to take a picture of that 20 so I can see if the money's real.
We got some trash talk. Mocha says don't underestimate Coach Hamilton. That's a Florida State. I agree. I mean, Florida State being from the ACC, they got to play a lot of tough matchups. He says, bring me my money. Talking about the bet. Mocha says, what's up to Rory? Hey, I don't feel bad for the Lakers. I mean, and you shouldn't. Nobody should feel bad for the Lakers. They are such a overly talented team that, yeah, you're right. Nobody should feel bad for them. But I agree with Eric. They'll be fine, you know, when it gets down to the nitty gritty of things. Go ahead, Eric, if you were going to say something.
Yeah, you know, I was just thinking about the other moves that they made at the beginning of the season. They were looking like the super team when they got Hartwell from the Clippers. They got Gasol. They got Schroeder. I mean, they were looking like they were just going to just kill everybody.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the Brooklyn Nets happened.
Yeah.
Which I know we'll talk about later. But that right there, man, that's just like that's just ridiculous. I mean, really, that's just it's like. When is enough?
Yeah, and let's kick it off and start talking about them. And they just got LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yes.
So you have Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, Harden, Kyrie, KD, and then you'd have a decent bench. You know, you got Joe Harris in there. I mean, like this. And Aldridge, and the thing is, like these guys, Aldridge and Griffin. Griffin. I mean, these guys don't have to do what they did on former teams. All you got to do is come in and do your job, and when we sub you out, that's it. Like, I mean, it just seems to be even better than what they were at the beginning of the season. They were already good at that point. So, Roy, I'm gonna go to you. Talk about Brooklyn. You know, getting Harden. I thought it was very interesting how it all happened, but
yeah. So I'll be honest. I'm not gonna do the popular pick and put Brooklyn in the category where everybody's putting them. They gotta play together, and I feel like that's what everybody's missing right now. Mm-hmm. LaMarcus Aldridge, he's got to find minutes for him. You still got KD. You still got Irving, you still got Harden, you still got Blake, you got Joe Harris. I'm hearing rumors that JJ Redick might even go over there. So how many players do you need to take down the Los Angeles Lakers? That's or should I say LeBron, right?
Yeah. Right.
And I think it's going to backfire. I don't really feel like this team, when it gets down into the thick of it, I feel like there's better complete teams in the East, Miami being one of them. I like the moves that Miami made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll say this, with Andre Drummond's name now bouncing over to the Lakers, I hope he backdoors and he goes to the Miami Heat personally, because then I would completely say to you that team is going to be Eastern Conference Final, maybe
I would love that too. For once,
yeah.
can a player not go to the Lakers, the Clippers, or Brooklyn? Like, I hope he goes to Miami, because Jimmy, like the work that Jimmy puts in, and the fact that they made it to the finals when only Heat fans and like 3 other people had them going to the finals, like that alone just shows like give this guy some give this guy some superpower, or everybody else is building.
The thing of what everybody has to realize about Brooklyn also too is that, you know, what can Blake Griffin do? You know what I mean? He's a guy that's his career is diminished a little bit. You know, he all of a sudden knows how to dunk after 2 years, which I kind of find surprising. That all of a sudden he can start. You know, I'm like, and then we want to stare down the bench the other night, right down in Detroit there, and I'm like, that's it's corny. You know, you guys got to stack pad your team. Like, KD's now running into this situation where you joined up with superpower teams. You joined up with the Avengers and Justice League, and you know all of these guys to win a ring. So we want to give LeBron the same smoke, but we don't want to give KD the smoke. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and KD got a lot of smoke for going to the Warriors, which I know that's people still talk about that. I think it's starting to kind of get overlooked because he's already moved on to Brooklyn. But yeah, they're and the other part that we got to talk about is, man, Steve Nash, your first coaching job. And you got to deal with Kyrie not coming on road trips. You got to deal with Harden coming in there. I'm going to go ahead and say it. The dude had a fat suit on in Houston, okay? He magically took that fat suit off. Now he's balling. So, you know, there's not a lot of issue I think you got to deal with him. But you got KD coming off the Achilles. So, man, much respect to Steve Nash for trying to figure out how to factor this in. And you just add in 2 bigs. So you're right, Rory. You got to figure out how to give all these guys minutes. Obviously, they can't. You can't pick up LaMarcus Aldridge and have him sitting on the bench. Like you got to, you know, logically, you got to get a guy some minutes. But go ahead.
Is he starting? That's the conversation. Is he going to start over in Brooklyn?
That's a good question. I mean, right now they're starting 5 is what Jeff Green, KD, Kyrie, Harden, and DeAndre Jordan. So. He may. I would start him over DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
If I was Steve Nash.
Well, you know what? In KD's defense, KD was in Brooklyn before everybody except Kyrie. So it's not KD's fault that his team became the Avengers. He was there. He was there with him last year. Obviously, he didn't play. Everybody came over there, I believe, because of KD. So the relationship between Harden and KD over at OKC. And you know what? I just want to kind of backpedal a little bit and bring up the Kyrie Irving situation. All of these rumors were swirling around, and Kyrie was acting like a head case. And mysteriously, right after the trade, you ain't heard a peep out of Kyrie. So you know what? I think he pulled the Jedi mind trick on them. That's what I think. It was like, no, y'all not about to put me in that situation, because Houston completely fell apart.
Yeah, and Kyrie he's been talking about this family issue. Now I don't know what it is. I know he hasn't. He's private and he's not saying what it is. But I just wonder, how long is this going to linger? Like, are we talking, you know, a couple more weeks? Are we talking about, you know, you get to the playoffs, game 1, and he's like, I got this family issue I got to tend to. So I don't necessarily think Kyrie's a head case. I think he was dealing with some internal stuff of like, should I even be playing the game anymore? That's how I think how personally, you know, life was just hitting him. But everything that's happened with George Floyd, the stuff that happened with, you know, him with Boston, and then he comes here. So I think Kyrie's just a unique person that I think sometimes deals with stuff just differently, it seems.
Differently, yeah. We'll see, though. We'll see. Brooklyn still got to play against teams like Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Miami. And you're going to run into at least 2 of those 4 teams that I just mentioned, or 2 of the 3 teams I just mentioned.
Yeah. They got to play together. I mean, that's exactly. It's different when you have guys that started the beginning of the season and you picked up all these guys But we're talking about halfway in the season. And, LaMarcus Aldridge has never played, I don't think, with any of these guys. Exactly. Neither has Blake Griffin played. You played with DeAndre Jordan, but that's probably it. Let me give a shout out to Lugal. Thank you for tuning in. He said, for real, to one of the comments. Taryn, the Lakers are not going to the finals, period. Bet Mocha, they go back and forth because Taryn's a Lakers fan and Mocha's a Miami Heat fan. LeBron and AD will be back for the playoffs. I agree with that. KD is Hawkeye, needs the squad.
Oh no, they calling him Hawkeye out here? They calling him Hawkeye?
Wow.
Oh no. Oh no.
Boy, that's like well, I'm not gonna say the worst Avenger, but he's pretty close.
Sheesh.
Wow. We will see, Taryn. Bet they're going at it. Until I see Nets and the Jazz winning a series, I'm not sold on them. Those two players are Peyton Manning of the NBA playoffs. Plus, can the Nets make it gel into the playoffs? And that's what Roy was saying. We're still talking about the regular season. Now, playoffs is a whole new story because they're all gonna play. All the teams are gonna play better, because it's the playoffs. Now, with Philly, what's up with Joel Embiid? I think it's a couple of weeks and it's not a major injury, but Joel Embiid is another one of those guys where at some point in time he's gonna go down with an injury. But I like them getting Doc Rivers, and I think now. And I'll get you guys' opinion on this. Now I think they have a real coach. Brett Brown, I don't know why that guy was there for that long, first of all. And second of all, it just seemed like he did not coach up his guys. It just go out there and do what you guys do, and if we lose, we lose. We just go home to our mansions and we'll be fine. Doc has a basketball mind. Obviously, in the different places he's been, he's won. So, Eric, I'll go to you first on kind of talking about Philly.
You know what, Philly with Embiid, I had my thoughts about Embiid before the season. He just seems like he just wasn't really focusing on winning basketball. He was focusing on, embarrassing folks and things of that nature. Embiid's got a real nice game. He kind of reminds me of like a Rasheed Wallace, except less intense. Joel Embiid is such a unique matchup, that big, that strong, inside mid-range game, outside decent free throw shooter, obviously a tremendous presence on the defensive end, just lacked focus. Doc Rivers, that's Doc Rivers' team. Doc Rivers isn't going to let any player come on his team and tell him how to run it, because hell, did he just trade his son again? So it's like, if you're going to go and trade your old son, it's like, nobody on that team's expendable. Doc Rivers being a former guard, I think he's really been beneficial to the growth of Ben Simmons. So he's taught him how to be that floor general. You can see his mechanics now are more refined. Tobias Harris on that team, he's got Tobias Harris being one of the better two-way players in the league. Philly is stacked. If Philly gets Embiid back, because Embiid's help to me is kind of in question too. A healthy Embiid is going to determine whether or not they go to the conference finals, to me.
Yeah, I agree. James brings up a point. It's funny how so many players are going to play with Kyrie and KD, but never do they run to LeBron. Just saying. Some players do, but not a lot.
You got to play in LeBron's system. You got to play LeBron style. And if you're not wanting to be held accountable, coached the right way, be on the LeBron system, guys are not going to want to go over there, because it turns into playoffs. It turns into the LeBron show. It's not necessarily about the other remaining players that are out there, Yeah,
right. That's true. Lugo says Golden. I believe that's Golden State all day. Yeah, this is without Clay. This season is not going to go great, but with Steph being there, that's a good thing. You're getting to see Wiggins. You're also getting to see, the young rookie and Wiseman.
Yeah,
James Wiseman.
Yep.
So
I'm actually surprised they didn't make a move in the trade deadline. I thought that was one of the teams that was going to make a move to kind of lobby themselves into that 8 seed, 7 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's kind of telling that it's a backseat type of year. That's what I get from their whole thing. All right, so let's get to some of the trades. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, We had about 8 trades on the day. I mean, it was kind of rapid fire on March 25th, which I was pretty excited about that. Aaron Gordon goes to the Nuggets. Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, future first picks go to the Magic. Aaron Gordon and Gary Clark go to the Nuggets. I think this is a good piece for the Nuggets because they obviously they went on that run, last year in the bubble, which was surprising. And you can add more firepower. For this team, they don't have it's not the Lakers or the Clippers or Brooklyn. So I think it's a good piece. I guess my question is how much is Gordon to be able to contribute to actually equal results, or that's my question that I have, with this trade. And Magic is going in straight up rebuild mode, obviously, with trading Vucevic too. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
but go ahead, Eric.
No, I'm just saying. I was just saying that. Yeah, they unloaded a lot of their talent. You know what? I don't know if that's going to be enough to put them over the top, because looking at how Utah and Phoenix are playing, man, I never thought that I would be saying that Utah and Phoenix are the 2 best teams in the league.
For now.
Yeah, well,
now.
Look,
out in the first round.
You think both of them are going to go down in the first round?
Listen, out in the first round.
Both. I just want to make sure that I'm clear, Roy. Are both Utah and Phoenix going down in the first round?
Like I said previous to this, the Lakers are going to slip in the seedings. The Lakers are probably going to play either the Clippers, Phoenix, or the Jazz. Basically, because I have it on my dual screen here, so I'm looking at those are the top 3 teams in the West, right? Okay. So if the Lakers move to 6th or 7th, but by Phoenix can't beat the Lakers in a 7-game series.
No,
not a healthy Laker team, but what about 100% LeBron and a 50% AD?
I think LeBron can do it by himself against Phoenix. Yeah, and I'm not even a LeBron guy. I'm not even trying to create hot takes tonight. I'm just being honest. Yeah. I look at the game of basketball. I look at the playoffs. I look at Phoenix has not been there in however many years. We want to over glorify Chris Paul's playing ability, which he's playing great, and Devin Booker. But Devin Booker has not sneezed into the playoffs since when? Fact check this for me, please.
I don't think he has.
Exactly.
I don't think he has.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
They don't have enough. I mean, Rory, you're right. I think DeAndre Ayton has not fully took that next step, and Chris Paul can't do everything. Now Utah, I don't know about Utah going out in the first round though. I could possibly, depending on if you say it to what you're saying though, if the Lakers do slip to 8 and the Jazz are still at 1, then yeah, they will be out in the first round of the playoffs. But if they don't, and depending on how the seasons move around, I could definitely see Utah making it past the first round.
Yeah, well, you got your bottom half teams are what? Dallas, San Antonio, Memphis, and Golden State. And to the Golden State conversation, I'd love to see Golden State get into this dance. I'd love to see it, Yeah. So time will tell with that. Dallas, who knows what's going to happen with them? So it's like, once team starts, because once the Lakers move down, which we already know that's going to happen, you got to remember Denver's going to move up, Portland's going to move up, and things like that also too, right? So, yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty interesting take. Yeah, it sounded like a hot take to me. You saying that the 1 and 2 seeds potentially could go down to 7 and 8. Wow,
it's going to happen.
You know what? Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. Okay, well, you know what? We'll see. It's still a little bit ways to go in a season, but I'm anxious to see it, but if it did happen, you heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
In our hour, my man Nathan, he says if he was Steve Nash, the lineup would be Kyrie, Harden, Durant, Griffin, and Aldridge, depending on certain matchups. I don't think that's bad, but I do think Griffin. What does he really have left, or was he just playing the game like some guys have? The honesty is, these guys will get out of a situation. They control what their future is. If they push hard enough and follow the blueprint of I'm not going to play. I'm going to diminish my skills, even though I can still dunk, because that was a rumor that he couldn't dunk anymore, and then he dunks in his first game with Brooklyn. But I kind of. Yeah,
there's no way. There's no way. Blake Griffin, he definitely did it on purpose. But you know what? There's no way a guy who's jumping over Kia cars is at 6'10", is not going to be able to all of a sudden can't dunk. But you know what? Everybody giving Blake Griffin a lot of flack, but I think Blake still got a lot in the tank. The only reason why he didn't play is because they wanted to buy his contract out. They was trying to seek out a trade for him. That's the only reason why Blake didn't play this year.
I just read this comment. Oh my goodness. Okay, so can we just put something for the record? I'm not a Raptors fan, even though I'm from Canada. I don't like the team. I despise the team. I don't like the team. Now you're gonna start hearing the hot takes come out. I'm a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. Okay.
What?
My team? Yes.
Is that because it's closer?
No, it's because it's Kevin Garnett. That's my favorite basketball player of all time.
Okay, I get it.
You know, so
he should be the owner. He should be the owner of the team. By the way,
that's another episode.
That's another story for another day.
Well, good luck with KG becoming an owner in the Timberwolves. I like to see it because he's got a pretty good basketball mind. I would love to see it. Will it happen? You know what? Maybe you and KD. I keep saying KD. Maybe you and Kevin Garnett can, partner up and
put some money together.
Right.
And do a little 80.
Yeah, because I got that 80, money.
Yeah, do a little 80-20. You put in 80, you put in.
Yeah, I might put
do like Jay-Z did. Do like Jay-Z did with the Nets. He only bought in for 1%.
That's true.
Now,
and then sell my share.
Yeah. Now, Aaron Gordon, and Mocha says Gordon should have come to the Heat. Aaron Gordon, is he good enough? Rory, I'm going to ask you this first. Is he good enough to make that big of an impact with the Nuggets?
So in this league of NBA, you need shooters, right? And Aaron Gordon is not a shooter. Aaron Gordon is like basically another Blake Griffin in like 2016. But what he gives the advantage with Denver, he gives them an athletic big. So the pick and roll is going to look really, really nasty over in Denver. It's going to be exciting to see what Denver can do. Can Jamal Murray turn it back up in the playoffs? Can Michael Porter Jr. turn it back up in the playoffs? We know what Jokic is going to do. I'm not sure with Denver right now. I'm kind of on that asterisk with them because the West is loaded. And I'm going to get to who I think comes out the West this year, possibly, because they're sitting in a nice position right now. But we'll get into all of that.
Yeah, and it's clear it's not going to be. It's clear it's not. I'm looking now. It's clear it's not going to be the Jazz. It's not going to be the Suns. It's clear that 1 and 2 are going down. Woo,
they're going down.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that. Wow. You know what? To answer your question, I think that it improves Denver, but I don't think it's enough to get them over the hump because really the way that the Jazz honestly are playing, the Jazz are so deep 1 through 12, 1 through 13, whatever the roster is, this year. The Lakers are sitting at a funny position. It all depends on Anthony Davis. Really, it's how he goes is how the Lakers gonna go. LeBron's gonna get his triple doubles in the playoffs. I understand that. What are they gonna get out of the rest of the guys? Who's gonna be that surprise guy that's gonna come up like Kuzma? For instance,
it's supposed to be Kuzma.
Yeah, it is, but it's not.
It's because they stifled his growth. I think that they had to go out to get AD to match with Bron, and then Kyle Kuzma was supposed to be that next guy in line, and he kind of had to take a back seat, right? So what can he do now? It's like he has to play now. Let me get the light that I can. Let me get the basketball on the hoop as much as I can.
Yeah, and I think too that whole trade scenario that went down. It's like he was in the package and he was not in the package, and then they ended up trading Lonzo and Brandon Ingram and Josh Hart in that package. So, I don't know if some of these guys' psyche can get messed up too, because you don't know from year to year if you're going to get traded or not. Because if you're not AD or LeBron, you're expendable at the end of the day. Now they didn't make a deal, so maybe that'll make him feel better. But yeah, this is his time right now. Like there's no better time than the present, and that's specifically right now because of the injuries. Lugo says you're right though. Chris Paul always lightweight, been overrated. He's. I think his skills are superb, but I think people put him on this pedestal like he can win anywhere, which if we want to be honest, he has not won anything. He went to the playoffs, which is all great, but he has not, as a point guard on a team, he has not won a championship. That doesn't fully define him, but if you look at point guards, you look at the longevity, you look at what people are going to say about Chris Paul 10 years from now, he was great. He never won a championship, though. Kind of like a John Stockton, he's going to be in that same conversation. Great
Marino
stats.
Of the NBA.
Yeah, great stats. He's probably going to break a whole bunch of records. And some of that I would say is and is not his fault. In Houston, part of it that he is different times he couldn't stay healthy. Him and Harden not really mixing well together, and it kind of just imploding. And then he ends up getting traded to OKC, and now he's in Phoenix. So it's like, you don't have that much longer left.
You know what? Had David Stern not avoided that trade when Chris Paul went to the Lakers, then I believe that he would have won a championship. I'm just saying.
I agree with you there. Whoever draws the Lakers, no matter where they fall to, the team will have a nightmare of a series, having to deal with LeBron and AD pretty much at full strength. Why do y'all waste time talking about a made-up team? We talking about the Lakers. Team? I think you're talking about the Lakers.
Should we not talking about the Brooklyn Nets? I think that maybe it was somebody on your network. They was talking about this was like a video game. This is what. How was like, you stack this team up like a 2K game, and you really don't know who to play with, so you just get all stars.
Terrence says Rory is a bold man, but I respect it.
So here's another boldness here. This is going to be a hot take. What if the Lakers draw the Clippers in the first round?
Ooh. Hey, we need that. We need that in our lives.
I need that energy.
I think both sides need that, because that's what we were all expecting last year. And when it did not happen, it kind of shot the playoffs for me. It was like, okay, we didn't really get, we get the Nuggets, but the Nuggets are just not going to be able to fully match up. So, but that's what we wanted last year. So I hope this year. Let's go to, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just thinking to myself, how's Paul George going to play? That's really going to determine whether or not, the key, because Kawhi's going to get his quiet, 25, like 8 and 4 assists. Which Paul George are we going to get? We going to get the guy at first 10 games of the season that was looking like an MVP candidate, or are we looking at the guy that's like,
Yeah, we'll see. Next trade, Heat acquire Oladipo from the Rockets. Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, and the 2022 draft swap is what the Rockets get. I think that's a great pickup. And I also think he'll fit in well, because they need, they need another, I think, scorer, and that's what Oladipo is. He can create on his own. He's not one of those where you got to get him in a spot to be able to do something. So now that gives you, I think, somebody along Jimmy, so Jimmy can kind of focus on playing both ends like what he does best, and Oladipo can maybe some nights kind of take over. So Eric, what was your thoughts on Oladipo, which he's been getting tossed around? I'm starting to feel like this. What is his career going to be like if he keeps getting traded? But Eric, I'll go to you first.
I thought it was a great trade for them. I was really surprised, honestly, that Houston just blew up their team the way that they did, and you get Victor Oladipo, alongside Jimmy Butler. You got Dragic, you got Duncan Robinson, you got Adebayo, you've got that's a really, really nice rounded team. So I think really that was the best trade of anybody, during the trade deadline, because think about the way he was playing before he got injured. What was it, like 2 years ago? And then of course the bubble situation happened. But Vic, he can ball. He can ball. So I think that's gonna push them into title contention. Where Miami falls is going to really play heavily on how successful they're going to be. But I think Miami's going to be a tough draw, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a run back to the NBA Finals. Yeah,
and they're right now in that 8th seed. But this was a big time pickup. Rory?
Yeah. I like the Heat. I like this pickup because now you can play with so many different lineup changes. How does this starting lineup look? Does Oladipo come off the bench? Because you can put him on the bench. He can fill that role like a Lou Willie right now. He could be your 6th man. You can play with him and Tyler Hero as that 6th man position. So it gives them the help What I feel will make this trade, and we alluded to this, what would make this trade even more potent is if they get another player. I would love to see Drummond go there and not the Lakers.
Yeah.
If Drummond goes to Miami, I think we can say Brooklyn over here. I'm going to put Brooklyn over there because I feel like Pat Riley, the way of his style of bringing players in, Spoelstra, Hall of Fame, arguably a Hall of Fame coach already. You know what I mean? I know some people look at that and they're like, oh, is he really? Well, look, he's got the rings to prove it. He's got the winning pedigree to prove it. Yeah, I Miami right now is my team that I feel like Eastern Conference Final. I could peg them there, but they have to move up in the seedings for this to happen because you can't be flirting with that 8 seed position. And then what happens? You then play Brooklyn in the first round, possibly. You may play a Philadelphia in the first round. You know, you wanna be able to at least avoid those teams first. You know what I mean? But I like Miami, especially what I saw last year.
Yeah, definitely. And adding on this piece, and if they can get Drummond, because Drummond is a rebounder of all rebounders. That's it, man. I mean, you don't need him to score. So just stand there and get rebounds. That's it.
And then Bam coming to the fourth spot, playing the power forward instead, the center. Oh my goodness. It's going to be scary.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. That'll be much needed. Dan Marino, Stockton. The Knicks are a game out of the 4th spot. They are. They did not. I don't think they made any moves at this deadline. If they did, it wasn't anything major.
They're out in the first round too. So I don't understand why we're talking about the New York Knicks for.
He's a Knicks fan. That's why.
He's a Knicks fan. I'm sorry. He must be a Yankees fan too.
He's a Yankees fan.
Wow.
Too. He is.
Yeah.
Dragic has been hurt this season. Why does every player have to join the Lakers? My goodness. I know. It's stars attract other stars. Okay. And when you get towards the end of your career, you want a ring. And what better place to go than there? It was the Warriors at one point. It was now it was the Clippers. It still is the Clippers, and it's the Lakers. And
Raptors
it could potentially Raptors, and it could potentially be Miami if Drummond goes there. So yeah, it's a possibility. What he said, what round is Minnesota team going to?
I know. Hardy. I know. I always get that. We always get that laughing stock. Well, you're a Minnesota fan. Have the Knicks seen the playoffs? And it's been how long since you guys have even sniffed the playoffs now? Stop. Out in the first round. Don't get swept.
You know what? You know what, Roy? I need to talk to you. I need to go look at some of the odds because if I take what you're saying right now and put some money on FanDuel, I'm going to be a rich man at the end of the season.
Listen, man, I go against the grain when I get into these spaces and things like that, and it's been a while, right? So, like I said, the Knicks, come on, out in the first round, swept,
and they're also
I don't know about
the New York Post story says Knicks may now have to rethink Andre Drummond's strategy. Now that's the New York Post. Obviously, they're going to have a story on that, but nobody else has anything on him going to the Knicks. So I don't think that's going to happen. He wants to win a championship, I believe, and he's going to go to a team that gives him the best possible chance. Now, the Celtics add Evan Fournier for Jeff Teague, 2 future second-round picks. What happened to Jeff Teague, first of all? I mean, I know he was on the Celtics, but I don't know what exactly he was doing. I got him. I played Yahoo Fantasy, and I had him in my like season league, and I keep looking at his stats, and I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. Now, obviously, Jaylen Brown's gonna get minutes. Tatum's gonna get minutes. He's probably not. He's gonna get the backup minutes, but still, what happened? What happened to Jeff Teague? What does Evan Fournier do for the Celtics? Rory,
quiet scorer. He's a quiet scorer. If you look at his numbers, right, in Orlando, he's a quiet scorer. I don't understand how you get rid of a big that went to Chicago. I think Boston should have made a big time move. I don't know why they didn't do it, but that's Danny Ainge, right? I think he likes to go with what gets him to the dance, you know? And right now the Celtics are looking like a team that's kind of, they're going to get into the first round. Do they come out of the first round? Do they go to the second round? I don't know. That's another team I look at that has a big asterisk on their title, right? So we'll have to wait to see what happens. Like, they got the team to get there. They can make some noise, but right now they can't beat the Milwaukee Bucks. If that's what it's looking, they're not beating Milwaukee right now. Milwaukee will run all over that team right now.
Yeah,
we're gonna start the playoffs.
Yeah. You got any comments on that one, Eric?
Just simple. Jeff Tease, he got old. That's what happened to him. He got old. He was almost like him and Kyle Lowry were kind of on that same tier. But Lowry's drop off and Teague's drop off was just like all-star 1 year. Boom. It's like just got old.
And Kyle Lowry did not get moved. Were you surprised?
Surprising.
What? Yeah. So is it rebuild mode? I mean, I guess if you trade Lowry, that's your franchise guy. So
he's about to walk. And that's so funny. I was talking to one of my coworkers today. He said that Lowry is going to walk, and the Masai Ujiri is probably going to leave also too. So then you're basically left with Nick Nurse, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, and what? A bunch of Skittles packs.
Fred VanVleet, and it's. I mean, look, they won a championship 2 years ago, so you know what? Toronto would be okay with the rebuild because they can still talk about that championship for the next couple of years.
That's
and
what
the
they
fan
do
base.
Yep.
And the fan base won't be all up in arms, and they're not even playing in Toronto right now. They're playing in Florida right now, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so they could be like, it's not really it's not really our team this year anyway, So it was like, they don't. I mean, where's going to be the outcry at it? Do you think the people in Florida are going to be upset about the fact that Toronto just basically broke up the team? Hell no.
And Lowry to me has always been a backup point guard at best. I mean, looking at the stats, I think he's a great hustle guy. I think he would do the dirty work. But if dude's having like 10 points, 4 assists, I mean, like that's not a starter night. Now, I think he's gotten a lot of love, with everything that he's done with Toronto. But I think at this point he's a backup point guard that will bring with 6th man of the year type guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I could see him going to the Lakers next year.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised a team like Philadelphia, he didn't go back home to Philly. Like, I'm surprised Philly didn't make the splash to go get an actual guard. You know what I mean? Or even look at what the Clippers did. The Clippers could have used them, but you give up Lou Will to go get Rajon Rondo. I don't understand that deal either. Yeah. You give up points to get a guy that hasn't really done anything this year.
Yeah, true. Chief Vernon Ricks is the government name. He said, Ben, you don't want to go to Dallas. I think you're talking about Drummond. Yeah, I'm in Dallas. I'm a Mavs fan. Nobody really wants to come here. That's why we signed Porzingis to a long-term deal. Luka, I think Luka will stay here, but nobody wants to come here because you're not going to win in the West. Like, it's just a matter of competing for fun because you cannot win a championship in this Western Conference. Besides,
this year you could.
Besides people getting injured, possibly. But I'm not fully in on Porzingis, and I thought they were going to be in conversations with Drummond, but it doesn't seem like that's gonna happen. But the Mavs did pick up JJ Redick. I don't know if that's a final deal. Yeah, they traded James Johnson, Wes Iwundu, a 2021 second round pick. He's here now, as he hadn't played yet, so I don't know.
Are they going to buy out the contract?
That's a good question. Let's see. Newly acquired JJ progressing after heel procedure. It seems like he is here, and there's no timetable for him joining the Mavs, is what one of the stories said. So I think he's here. I don't think he's going to buy out or buy him out of his contract.
I got a question though. Thinking about Andre Drummond at Dallas, how is that going to work with two super bigs like Porzingis and Andre Drummond? How's that going to work?
Porzingis does not rebound. He cannot play. Like, I get it. He's one of these foreign players, and you want to try to pair him up with Luka, but the guy cannot play defense, and he's really not that big of an offensive threat. So I mean, I was excited when he got here, but now I mean we're like a couple years in, and we're not seeing major results. So they would bring Drummond in to rebound because they don't really have a rebounder.
Yeah,
you got a 7-foot guy and he doesn't rebound. So that's a whole other story. Shout out to John Fisher, aka Fish, the microwave. Thank you for coming through. Ain't nobody going to play with the Lakers. Rondo, let's get to the Rondo. Rondo helped the Lakers win last year.
That was last year.
Rondo is a point guard for hire. Okay, he would go play in Japan if the money was right. Okay, that's who he is at this point. He went to Atlanta because they gave him more money. He didn't go there because he thought they were going to win, and then he ends up getting traded to the Clippers for Lou Will. Lou Will gets to return home to Atlanta, and the Clippers get Rondo, which he's been linked to the Clippers for the past couple of years. So I'm not really surprised about this. And at the end of the day, the Clippers know what they're going to get from Rondo. You're going to get a true point guard that doesn't really care about scoring. He will score if need be, but he will distribute the ball, and that's who he's been, these past few years. But I thought Lou Will was going to be there for the remainder of his career, just the way that he played, being the sixth man of the year and everything he's done. But that again just goes back to show you this is a business. This is a business at the end of the day. And the Clippers are trying to win, and they've already been linked to him, multiple times. So, Eric, I'll go to you first. Rondo coming over to the Clippers. What's your thoughts?
Rondo's got a championship pedigree, and he showed how valuable he can be. LeBron not having to do all of the heavy lifting in terms of ball handling. I think he's going to be a pretty good asset to that team. There's just no way that's going to be enough to get the Clippers over the hump, though. So it's a nice checkers move, but they needed to make a chess move in order to get them over the hump, and that just simply wasn't it.
And now who's the sixth man? It's obviously it's not Lou Will anymore.
Right. So I mean, it would have to be. It have to be Rondo. Do you really see Rondo starting?
Nope. Well, in a position, probably yes. Would you want to start Pat Bev? Right. But I feel like with Rondo's a very underrated defender too. So I think that's like a defense move.
He gets lots of steals. Rondo has a pretty nice stat line. He's going to fill the stats, especially for his size. I've seen him pull off quite a few triple doubles.
Yeah.
Now, Pat Bev, man, I think he's one of those pest type players that will just annoy the hell out of you, and he'll have like 9 assists and no points. I think that's who he is. He's an annoying player that would get under the skin of all the other players. But I think you do start Rondo, and I think you bring Pat Bev off the bench, and then you look at Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard may be that kind of 6-man guy now, and they got Reggie Jackson. Now I don't know. Yeah, they're kind of like the stepchild of super teams, if you will. They're like the Avengers Part 2, kind of like the secondary squad that comes in and does all the cleanup work. Because Serge Ibaka's getting older. They got Batum. So, they got guys, but
Batum's been playing pretty good this year, though, right? Yeah. If you have him on your fantasy team, he's been putting up some points. Some nights he gives you anywhere between, 8 to 12. Some nights he can give you 20, right? So,
yeah.
I feel like they're trying to go for a full all-out defensive team that's going to just try to beat you off the block, beat you off in the defense, beat you in the trenches and things like that, but we'll see.
Who you think won this? Well, I'm not gonna say who won the trade. Obviously, the Clippers, because the Hawks aren't really. What are they gonna do this year? I don't think they're gonna do much.
They're in the 6th seed, and I'll tell you this: they can beat the Knicks and they can beat the Hornets. I'll give them that. They can beat the Knicks and they can beat the Hornets.
Well, especially the Hornets now that Ball is injured, so.
And they can probably beat Boston. 7 series.
Really?
I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see how the second round of the playoffs is going to look.
Yeah. Clippers lost the Rondo Lou Will trade. Lou Will is the whole package. Rondo is a partial package, says Taryn. It says facts, Eric. Playing 4 or 5 offense when Pat Bev in the game. Surprised he's still on the team. Question. Why does every player want to go to the Nets? All those players just to make it out of the first round and take on the role of a paper team. That's a question and a shots fired. Brooklyn, it's attractive. That's the reason why. KD's there, Kyrie's there. Brooklyn is it's in New York, but I think Brooklyn is the more attractive city, the more attractive team in New York than the Knicks. But you're still going to kind of get that big, the big kind of city feel, and you're still going to get the media, and then Harden's there too. So I mean, it's players attract other players. That's why people want to go to Brooklyn. At the end of the day, Nuggets reacquired JaVale McGee. We're not really gonna touch on that one that much. Bulls made a couple of marquee moves. The biggest one though was let me go to they made quite a few, but acquiring Vucevic, they acquired Vucevic from
Orlando.
The Magic. Yeah. How well are the Bulls, Roy? I'm gonna go to you.
This hits close to home because I'm a Zach LaVine guy. You went to Minnesota. I love Zach LaVine this year. Coming off this ACL injury, what now? 2-3 years now? It's been. Yeah. He's been playing lights out. What is he like? I heard now 6th in scoring in the NBA, and every single night he's bringing it. The thing is, being on the Bulls, is it an attractive destination? Now you get Vucevic over there. It's like it starts looking kind of promising. Like players might want to be like, hey, let's go over to Chicago. Chicago hasn't really done anything in a few years, So I like this move. I keep playing with this idea. Are they trying to make a back end playoff move, right? Are they trying to get into like the A seed to at least get into the playoffs? But if you get into the playoffs, what's going to happen, right? Yeah. My man just said that the Bulls need a PG. So it's like you have Kobe White over there, but he's inconsistent. You know what I mean? Lauri Markkanen is injury prone. So let's see what happens. I feel like if they're trying to make a splash into the playoffs, they made the right move, but it could be a next year into the next coming years to see where this really makes all sense.
That's true. And they got so at the trade deadline, they got Al Farouk Aminu. They got Troy Brown Jr. They got Javonte Green. They also added Daniel Theus, Vucevic. So I mean, they're putting themselves, I think, in a spot to make the playoffs. Now, what happens from there is obviously, the big money question. Vucevic has been linked to quite a few teams. He was linked to my Mavs. Obviously, that didn't happen. But I think Chicago, we just being honest, has not been the same since the Jordan era. They just haven't. Derrick Rose, I think, was a glimpse of it, but it just never reached its full potential. Jimmy was there. It just never reached its full potential. So I think anything that they can do, obviously, to improve and to make it to the playoffs is a good thing for that team and for that city and for that organization. But I don't see them winning a championship anytime soon. Eric, you got anything to add on to that?
What's interesting about that is the playoff format this year. They've got the play-in style for like the last 4 teams. So, Chicago was right on that cusp. They're actually sitting at that number 10 spot. So, if they gel right, anything could happen. Roy, I don't know. You think that maybe if Chicago gets in through the play-in round, do you think there could be a potential upset? You think they may be able to knock Philly out?
That's a boy. I like Zach LaVine, and he can put up points in bunches. You know what? I don't think so. I think they can look competitive in the series, but I don't think they win that series.
Do you think they win a game?
They win one, of course. Yeah, refs in the NBA will allow them to win one game. You already know how it is. Come on now, the betting lines. Yeah, it'd be like an 8-point dog, and then somehow end up blowing the team up by 20. You know, and you're like, what? You know what I mean?
True.
So
True.
I think Chicago can. I'd like to see them sneak in. It'd be good for the city of Chicago to see them back in the playoffs.
It definitely would be.
Mm-hmm.
So you think it's more like of a? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Ben. You think it's more like a build to the future move for Chicago?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get some free agents next year. Get some guys over there. Start being like a back end 7 seed team, possibly.
Yeah. 76ers acquired George Hill, which he's been traded around quite a bit. The other pieces in this trade aren't really. Well, Austin Rivers did go to the Thunder, and then Tony Bradley went to the Thunder. George Hill is another one of those interesting, players where Hill he kind of has on and off nights, but I think he's had instrumental play everywhere he's been, and I think this is a good trade for Philly. I don't know what's your thoughts, Roy?
Defensive. It's a defensive move, right? And it gives you veteran leadership as a point guard, and things like that. So Doc Rivers type of player, coach him, get him in there. Perimeter defense, you need that, especially when you got what's over there in Brooklyn. You got to put bodies in front of Kyrie Irving and James Harden, right? So it's a move. We'll see what it makes in the long term run.
See what it equals. But I agree. It's a move that you make. Let's see. Big Illinois. I'm a long life Spurs fan, but I still follow the Bulls. I think they'll make the playoffs interesting, but the lack of playmaker is going to be the downfall. And I believe you're in Illinois, so I know the Bulls are going to be on every night, probably on WGN or something like that. So you probably going to see it regardless.
Listen, they were getting fleeced on their game tonight against the Spurs. It was looking ugly out there. Like, I don't even want to look at what the score was because it was looking ugly.
That bad.
It was looking ugly. Yeah, it was bad. Spurs were just hammering them.
Speaking of the Spurs, what is it about Pop? Pop can take just cats off the street. And then, it's like, they didn't make the playoffs last year and they barely didn't make the playoffs. It really doesn't matter. Aldridge, okay. You want, okay, fine. You know what? Fine. You know what? We'll go ahead and buy you up because I believe Pops is the GM of the Spurs too. What sort of a system does Pop have? It's like there's no way that the San Antonio Spurs should be in playoff contention right now if you look at their roster on paper.
They know how to draft. Between the GM and they know how to draft. And I'm sick and tired. I've heard people slander DeMar DeRozan's name from time when he left Toronto and saying like, oh, he could have never won a championship in Toronto. We don't know. I've always said 2 years ago, if you put DeMar DeRozan in that position instead of Kawhi Leonard, I think they low key could get to the finals. Now winning, different conversation. You know what I mean? And plus LeBron wasn't even in the East. So with DeMar DeRozan, like, still like the Iron Man that he is, still putting up consistent points and things like that. So you have a team that it's now his team now, and they have the supporting cast. And let's see, I'd love to play for a Popovich system. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a good track record. He's got a good resume. Hall of Fame coach.
He's got a great track record. This is the starting five as of right now. DeJounte Murray, Derek White, DeMar DeRozan, Keldon Johnson, and Jakob Patel. Jakob Patel. Yeah. So like that starting five with Rudy Gay coming off the bench, Patty Mills coming off the bench. Yeah, you're right. He is doing this with quite a few, or not a lot of well-known guys. But Pop is a great coach. That's it. I didn't know how much longer he really wanted to do this. When his wife passed away, I was really kind of wondering like how much further he wants to coach. But Pop has been consistent every single year. They're gonna be in the playoffs, or they're gonna barely miss the playoffs. And during those years when they were just going to back-to-back finals with just the big fundamental Tim Duncan and the guys that they had. But you're right, Roy, they do draft well.
You do.
Here's a question. Who here wants to see Greg Popovich win 36 more games and to make him the all-time coaching leader in wins?
That's probably why he's doing this.
I definitely do.
Yeah,
I definitely do.
Absolutely.
Putting in work. I do too. I do too. And little known fact is that me and Coach Pop, we both are from the same hometown. We both were born in East Chicago, Indiana. So okay, I'm pulling for him. Oh yeah. So yeah, a little well known fact. I mean, there's only 2 famous people that ever came out of East Chicago that was my
pops. I love the energy.
They got you guys in the local grocery store as legends. You know.
Yeah, sure do. I got a statue over there, and Pops, his statue's a little bigger than mine, but we both got statues over in Chicago. I wouldn't lie to you. You can look it up.
I'm going to the website right now. Hold on.
Okay.
Popovich just won his 1,300th game as a head coach. That is well deserving. I'm not surprised. I mean, the guy is year after year after year. He's putting up quietly too. Not a lot of people are going to be talking about San Antonio this year, but he is just quietly winning games. Five-time champion, 3-time coach of the year. I mean, he's just been putting up the numbers. He's gonna break a lot of records. I agree.
Absolutely.
I still don't see how a Minnesota basketball team fan can talk about somebody. Hey, he's a podcaster. He has an opinion.
Listen, man, it's okay. We're the butt of the joke. It's fine. It's all good though. And I want to know who these people's teams are that they're speaking. Like, I need to know. Right?
Rocky is the Knicks fan of the club.
Again, your teams are gonna get swept. Your team might get swept, bro.
Every year, and this is I would hate to be a Knicks fan because every year the player that's the high touted free agent, they put him up on the screen with a Knicks jersey on, and we all know that person's not coming there. And I think part of it's ownership. I think part of it is New York. That Knicks franchise is not attractive. It's just not. Just like my Mavs are. The Mavs are not attractive. Luka is the attractive point, but nobody's running here to play with Luka because you can't win a championship with that team. Just like as it currently stands, you cannot win a championship with the Knicks. So coming over there as one-star player is not going to dramatically help. So that's the thing.
Knicks fans have something to talk about this year, but then you're in the New York media. Brooklyn's the main attraction, and yeah, they're currently sitting in the 5th seed, and if they play Atlanta in the first round, it's gonna look pretty bad for them Knicks fans. I don't know how they're gonna. I don't see anybody. Isn't what's his name not hurt too? Did he not go down with a fractured foot today? From the Knicks?
Trae Young? Oh no,
Mitchell
Robinson.
Mitchell Robinson. I think he went down with an injury with a fractured foot today.
Well, we'll see.
Maybe
is there Obi topping? Is that what we're doing now?
Is there a black cat circling around the Knicks franchise?
Thank you, Eric. I'm happy somebody could be here to back me up on this.
He said that was the old management. I guess when I was talking about, okay, Knicks are the Chicago Bears of the NBA. Ooh. Fan base dream about every star player, and we end up with Andy Dalton. That's the comment of the night right there. That is the comment of the night. And then Andy Dalton, just so boldly, this is as a side comment, but he's just like, yeah, they said I'm the starter. It's like, I'm not coming here to be the backup. I'm like, that's Andy Dalton is your starter that struggled in Dallas last year. And that's your starter. Congratulations. And like I said, I'm a North Carolina fan. I was surprised Trubisky got drafted that high. I'm like, that dude should have been in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, somewhere.
He should have been in the 5th round. He should have been in the 5th round. He should have been like your practice squad quarterback.
Yeah, I watched North Carolina football, and even I'm like, not that guy. The Nets will never be the team of New York.
They kind of are, though.
They are because they have the better players. Though. They are.
Exactly.
It's yeah. He said, no, Eric, the black cat is floating around you.
Jeez.
Well, I'm a Pistons fan, so he may have a point.
Maybe.
Yeah, but you guys have at least some relevancy in the NBA.
Well, yeah, we've got. Let me see. Yeah, we've got 3 championships. Yeah, you know what? You're right. The last time the Knicks won a championship, I think I was 1, like back in '72.
I wasn't thought of at that time. All right, let's go to the Norman Powell trade.
Here we go.
Going to the Blazers for Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood. I like this pickup. I think, man, quietly every single year, Portland is in the mix. They get overlooked, and Dame says, "I'm here." Okay, I get up. You may overlook me, but I'm still here. CJ is back. Norman Powell, he pretty much slides into the starting spot. Melo is still there, coming off the bench. Robert Covington, Nurkic, hopefully he's healthy. But I hear you humming, Roy. So what? Give us your thoughts and your take.
I love this move because I've watched Norman Powell in Toronto, and this is probably one of the best free agency pickups that we've seen in the trades. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Portland's quietly coming together healthy. And now that they got the firepower, they got that defenders. They got the defenders there. Norman Powell's an underrated defender. If I'm teams in the Western Conference right now, and then again, the teams like the Utahs, the Phoenixes, Lakers, they should be okay. But Portland's coming, and I'm going to say this right now. This is the hot take for the night. Portland will be in the Western Conference final. And you can book that.
Book it.
That you book.
Okay.
Portland in the Western Conference final. This is their year, and I think they're gonna avoid. Right now, what they're sitting against the Clippers. I don't want to see that in the first round, but they're gonna move up. They'll move up just because the Lakers are gonna move down, right? But Portland Trailblazers, that move that they just got, it puts them over the hump, and now they're healthy.
They
and
need
once
it.
Nurkic comes back, you got Nurkic, you got Enes Kanter. Like, they're a dangerous team right now. I don't know if you want to play them in the first round.
Yeah, I forgot about Kanter. Kanter being there, obviously, like I already mentioned, Melo, but Dame and CJ was out last year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh no, CJ was there. Bro, his back was broken though. He had that fracture in his back.
Yeah. He wasn't all the way. He wasn't fully healthy. But yeah, that's not really too high of a hot take because they've been waiting for a minute to get this team fully back healthy. And Dame is one of those guys that writes down names and puts it under his pillow at night so he can snipe you the next day. He is one of those people.
They're coming.
They're coming. I like that take.
They're coming. They're coming. It's gonna get scary in the West.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Ben. Go ahead.
I was just gonna read that comment. He said nobody wants to see the Lakers with a LeBron and AD. Keith Sweat voice. Nobody. I like that. I like that take. Go ahead, Eric.
I was looking at Portland, and Portland, man, they're only 3.5 games out of the number 2 spot out over in the West. And then just listening to what Rory said, was saying, as the Lakers slip, then you're going to be pulling up Denver, and you're going to be pulling up the Trailblazers. And Dame is dangerous by himself. Now you got a healthy CJ, you got Powell. I could see them going to the conference finals.
I really like this pickup, and I'll go to you, Roy. And they could potentially add. Who knows if they end up picking up somebody else that getting bought out like that. I wouldn't put that past because they had LaMarcus Aldridge possibly coming back. That was a story that was out there, but that didn't end up happening. But go ahead, Roy.
Yeah, like, here's what we also got to remember too with the Lakers. With LeBron being out 4 to 6 weeks, there's gonna be a little bit of rust that's there, right? You're not playing. You're healing your body back. The AD injury, and I wanted to address this also too. A lot of people feel it's very Kevin Durant injury-esque because it's that calf. Is it the Achilles or is it the calf?
Yes.
You can't rush him to come back. This is where things are going to get really, really interesting in the West, and I want everybody to really pay attention and say, yeah, if the Lakers slip down, they come back a little bit healthy, but you're not going to want to run into a team that's a buzzsaw like a Portland or like a Clippers team, right? You notice I didn't say Utah or Phoenix because I don't think they're buzzsaws yet. I think they're just regular season teams.
They're there.
Regular season as they're there. They're going to be happy to be there. If fans were allowed in the stadiums, you're going to have great concession stands that are going to happen. You're going to have playoff tickets sold. You get some TV time, but at the end of the day, when the big dogs come to play, you know what time it is. The little dogs have to move out the way.
Yeah.
There's really only 3 teams in the West right now, and I'll say this: it's Clippers, Portland, and the Lakers. Those are the 3, in my eyes, my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think if I could add one more team, I would say Denver. It's because of Jokic and Jamal Murray kind of riding on the back of those 2 guys. But everybody else is there, with potential, but there. So I mean, yeah, good point. All right. This was a little bit earlier. This was before the 25th, but PJ Tucker going to the Bucks. I like this trade. I still don't fully believe in the Bucks though, just because they have not done it in the past. Now, could they possibly do something going forward? Maybe. And also they traded George Hill, and I like the trade with Drew Holiday. But Drew Holiday is one of those in and out type players, and I think he's a little overrated, in my opinion. And Chris Middleton, you want him to be the number 2 guy, but is he going to be the number 2 guy? Night in, night out. PJ Tucker brings in that 3-and-D, which is what he did, and so I think that's a good piece. But Eric, I'll go to you first with the Bucks.
You know what? The Bucks are going to be. I can't even say that they're going to get to the conference finals. Honestly, I think that they'll probably get to the semi. They'll get out of the first round, but I think it's going to be another disappointing year for Giannis. Now, maybe if they happen to look up and get maybe Andre Drummond, to give them some more toughness and interior defense. I don't know why they traded George Hill. I think that they honestly should have kept him, but I mean, like you said, Drew Holiday he's off and on. I'm not sold on the Bucks. I'm not really excited about the Bucks. Now, Giannis by himself, but after that, you really don't have anybody else that's consistent. So yeah, I think that they're like a second round playoff exit.
Yeah. Rory?
I'm a Giannis guy, and my only conversation to Giannis is get out the first round and go to the second round and at least make the Eastern Conference Final. Because if he doesn't make the Eastern Conference Final, this whole long-term contract that he signed is not going to make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Why would you? I get it. You're a loyal guy, but why? Milwaukee?
Protect your family. Set up the investments there, and maybe in the back half of your career, be one of those guys that goes to a team and wins a championship. But who wants that? You're the face of that city. You're probably the best athlete in that city, right? And you like 2-time MVP. You have the right players. I don't understand a lot of the moves that they did make. I thought they would have made some other behind the scene moves also too. I could have seen them like with a JJ Redick personally, because you need shooters. You need shooters when it comes in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Look at all those teams that we've mentioned. They all have key shooters in critical times in the moments, and things like that. And Milwaukee, let's hope. I'd like to see Giannis do things, but
it's a hope. It's a hope and a prayer. Now, do you think Drew Holiday is overrated?
Well, did he do anything? I didn't really see him all last year.
Has he done anything anywhere?
Oh,
Philly. In Philly, he made an all-star team in Philly.
What year was that?
You know what? I think all my hair was probably black then, but
let's see, 2013. Yep, you're right. Oh, with New Orleans. He was in Philly and New Orleans that year. Yeah, right. 2013. Yeah, I just people, a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's Drew Holiday." I'm like, and that's the championship piece. Drew Holiday, is that what we're saying? We can't say that. We can't say that with a straight face. He's a piece, but he's not the piece. Really.
Well, here's the thing I want to say about Giannis. I hope he gets a ring, because it'd be a crying shame if his brother has a championship ring and he doesn't. So
Gifted.
It's like, Yeah, so it was like the only reason why he was in the league is because of his brother. And then he happens to land on the Lakers, and then he gets a ring, and then Giannis doesn't have one. Oh man, that's just
crazy.
Like
that's like what we talked about earlier. Adam Morrison has 2 rings with the Lakers, 2,
and did nothing.
And his main thing was wearing jeans and a sports coat with a Fat Farm shirt.
Oh, brother.
Tucker would bring hustle and energy, but Giannis, however he spell it, will have to turn up 2 notches in the playoffs for that team to be successful. Mm-hmm. I agree. Tucker will bring those things. I agree, and he'll bring his closet of shoe collection that he brings to every game. Giannis should have gone to the Lakers, won a ring with his brother.
Oh, brother!
I wouldn't. I didn't want to see that. I did not want to see that. No.
Like, why would you? You guys like you want the league broken? Is that what people want? The league that's broken?
No parity at all. It already broken. It really is.
Yeah, like broken more than it needs to be. Like, come on.
Bucks are the definition of Peyton Manning as well. Taryn, why everybody has to go to the Lakers? That's been a common comment. Why everybody has to go to the Nets? All right, so a player that is Boogie on a team. I know he got bought out of Houston.
Oh.
Is he out there? Let's talk about that for a quick minute. What does he have left? And I think he got tied up into that Isaiah Thomas situation where he was expecting to get a big deal, got an injury at the worst possible time, and just probably will not ever get that deal. Just like Isaiah Thomas will never get that deal. But can he be a piece on a team like some of these teams we've been talking about that's trying to look for that other big?
It's a big
what's his motivation? Because he's got a chip with the Lakers. Like I said, sitting on the sidelines with a sport coat and his jeans. Really with DeMarcus, when he was over there in Sacramento and he was over there in New Orleans, he was hungry. And yeah, you're right. That was the worst possible time for him to have that injury. And ever since then, it's been, just one hurdle after the other. What about him going to a team like Miami?
That could happen. That could happen.
Or do you think he could be a help over in Milwaukee?
I think he'd suit a Miami Heat team personally, because then you play with that interchanging match of putting Bam at the 4, which even makes it more dangerous, right? And things like that. And Bam can actually shoot, right? I feel like he can shoot better than Boogie, right? So Miami probably is the only destination unless Boston decides to say, like, let's make a run at him.
Yeah. Big Illinois says, might be time for Boogie to boogie at the crib. Can't stick with any team.
It's true. But you don't want to know what, though. That's a head case too, right? Because he does have a bad attitude, right? If we look back at the days in Sacramento and things like that, right? So
yeah, that's true. The Nets
that lingers with you. That lingers with you. Right?
It does.
Yeah.
And then to have an Achilles injury like that, and then to follow up the next year he got injured, and then he had the opportunity with the Warriors. They were in the finals. I mean, they were heavily dependent on him too. Mm-hmm. They didn't have Clay. Lakers cut him. He didn't get a ring, so he did not get a ring.
He didn't get a ring.
I thought him and what's that? The point guard. What's that guy's name? He was in Miami. He was in Miami for a minute, and then he went to the Lakers, but he never played. Deion Waiters. Didn't Deion Waiters? I think Deion Waiters got a ring.
Did he? You know what? Let's just take a look.
He was on both teams. Yeah, he did get a ring because he was on both. He was on Miami and the Lakers, so he would have got one either way.
Oh, kind of like old Anderson Varejao back in the day, huh?
I thought Boogie got a ring. Yeah, I think we all did, but it looked like he didn't.
You know what? I'm just gonna take a real quick look because let's see who was on their roster.
So when you look at Brooklyn, now let's look beyond this year. You gave up 3 first-round picks, 2022, 2024, 2026, a 2022 first-round pick that you had from the Cavs, and 4 first-round pick swaps for 21, 22, 20, 25, 27. What is the future of this team? Because obviously you can't build in the draft. So this is it. This is it. This is your future. This is like we're not even 5 years. This is 6 years from now when you actually have a first-round pick.
Exactly. The only thing you have riding on this team, and I'm going to take an interesting approach at this, is Spencer Dinwiddie, because he's injured with the what I think was his ACL. Yeah. So that value's there. He's probably him, Joe Harris are probably the younger guys on the team. I feel like Kyrie, James Harden, and KD and the rest of everybody else is close, either approaching their 30s or in their 30s. So KD's going to be there for a bit. Kyrie's going to be there for a bit. I don't know what you do with James Harden personally. I think if you win it this year, do you get rid of him now? Or do you sign him to some sort of deal? But then you got to build in your roster. Are you just going to be the team that signs vet minimums or the vet minimum all through, right? Because that's what they're doing with all these guys, right? Blake's not going to be there next year. No. You're probably going to – DeAndre Jordan is probably not going to be there, right? So it's like all of these guys you're just signing for crumbs, and you can't really build a team in the long run like that. So it will be interesting. I'll tell you this right now. They're probably going to get chewed up when they don't win the championship, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just remember that. They're going to get chewed up, and then everybody's going to be like, next year they can do it. And if what happens, they don't do it next year, right?
Like
they always say this thing, don't go out there and go buy a championship. And this is what they did. They put all their eggs in one basket. Yep. I don't think it's going to work out.
Literally one basket, which was James Harden. Like they gave up everything. So if it does not equal a championship, we'll just say in the next 6 years, it was a horrible trade. It was just having butts. You're going to get more butts and seats because it's James Harden. But man, I won a championship. And here I wanted to look up James Harden's contract. He still has 2 more years left on his deal. Wow, he's getting paid $44. That's the base salary next year, and then $47 the year after that.
That's crazy.
Lord have mercy.
So yeah, if they do win a championship, maybe they do try to move him. But it's pretty wild that the trade happened. And just I figured it was going to happen. I just didn't know what they were going to have to give up, and they gave up everything. They gave up everything. So if you don't win a championship, the trade was a bust, and it is championship or bust. Let's see. The OKC organization should be eliminated. What's the purpose of having all them draft picks? They'll figure something out. Don't worry. They'll make some trades or. University of Houston men's basketball is a better team than the Houston Rockets.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Wow.
It's a bunch of grown men playing little kids. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Now, what a person that I do feel bad for is John Wall, who got traded over there. Like this is the roster. DJ Augustine, Avery Bradley, Sterling Brown, Dante Exum, Eric Gordon, David Nwamba, John Wall, Jashawn Tate, Kevin Porter, Christian Wood. He's a good young player. Justin Patton, Kelly Olynyk, Kenyon Martin Jr. But John Wall came there, Boogie came there, and then you had Harden there. We're like, okay, this could be fun to watch at the least. And then it just all went to hell. Boogie's gone. Obviously, they gave up Harden, but they do have a lot of picks. So be smart, Houston. Be smart with these picks. Do whatever you trade them, pick people, whatever you got to do. But they can definitely rebuild this. I think fast if people want to, if trades go down. I thought Wall would have been traded. They just got him. So too. They just got him, but I was thinking with everything kind of going south that maybe would have happened. Okay. All right, so who do you have in the finals, Roy? We come to this point at the
oh boy, I got to pick a team at the East and the West right now. Okay,
Would you
I'm gonna do
would
two
you prefer
picks.
just? I'm sorry. Would you
I'm gonna do
prefer
two
just to
picks.
throw all of the teams get thrown into a pot, the top 16 teams, and then just go from there?
Oh,
NCAA
Eric, I love
tournament
the
stuff?
energy, man. I'm gonna do two picks. So I'm gonna go with the logical pick. The logical pick tells me Brooklyn Clippers. Personally, Brooklyn Clippers.
Clips.
Not Lakers.
Yeah. Because the injuries. It's the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really feel like I want to. Does anybody really want to watch Brooklyn play the Los Angeles Lakers with that all-star team and then possibly LeBron gets swept? Possibly.
I'm comfortable with that.
I think we are. I think we all are, right? But my heart, my heart tells me this. I was looking at this. I can't believe what to say this. Miami, Portland would be I would love to see that matchup. Miami versus Portland. I think that would be a finals that we look back and say, yo, that was the one.
That would be an old school gritty type finals. I would love to see that.
I'd love to see that.
All right, does Miami get the chip, or does Portland get the chip?
I gotta go.
Who do
Portland.
you want to see? You gotta go Portland. So
gotta go
Dame get his ring.
Gotta see Dame get the ring. If Dame, that's another guy too. Like him and Giannis are both in the same situation right now. Yeah, they gotta get a ring. For the love of God, get a ring, please.
And you know what I want to see? I want to see Dame get one because honestly, he is it's the closest thing I've seen to Isaiah Thomas since Isaiah Thomas left the league. That's who Dame reminds me of.
And that guy has been loyal to Portland no matter what. Signed a long-term deal. I do not think he will go anywhere else. So he is there. He is there for that city. That would be great to see. And he would probably drive by to all the teams, GMs that passed on him and show them the trophy. I love that dude's heart, man. It's just to be shooting from the logo like he does, the grind that he puts in. He came from Weber State. Like that's not a nothing. That's not a basketball, football, baseball, soccer. That's a nothing school. And the guy came from Weber State, also from Oakland. So yeah, I get you. I definitely get that. Eric, who you got in the final? We're kind of midway through, so it's a good conversation to have.
Man, you know what? I'm kind of liking that Miami pick. If Miami picks up Andre Drummond, I like Miami. But with the absence of that, you know what? Sorry, got to go with Brooklyn. And really, regardless of where the Lakers are, as long as AD comes back, they could be sitting at 7 or 8. The Lakers against Brooklyn, and Brooklyn wins the chip. And Kyrie, I would love to see Kyrie go up against LeBron in the finals. I would love that.
That's like the Avengers fighting against the Justice League.
That's what we need to see. That's what we need to see.
Not really.
I'm anxious to see which rich guy is going to perform better. You got Iron Man. You got Batman. I'm anxious to see.
Eric, we know if anybody here likes Marvel versus DC, we know that the Avengers are going to kick up on the Justice League. There's no contest.
They're old. Like they got the same old people. They're all ancient. And they have we all know.
No, there's no grit.
You know what? You do have a point because outside of like Wonder Woman and Superman, who does DC really have?
Nobody. Batman's gizmos and gadgets is not stopping Iron Man or Thor. I'm sorry.
Well, his superpower is that he's rich. That's his superpower.
Germany's either going to the Lakers or Celtics. That's the word on the street. But if he has any any grind in his heart or sense, he would go to Miami. I think that
if he has a brain, he would go to Miami.
Like if he's going to the Lakers, it's chip chasing. That's it. There's no other reason to go there.
But a compromised AD, a under motivated Kuzma. I mean, of course, LeBron's going to be LeBron, but I mean, outside of those,
that starting lineup would be what you got AD a 7-footer, and then you got Drummond a 7-footer, then you got LeBron, and then you'll have Schroeder and whoever else plays.
Here's one question I want to say: if it is the Lakers in Brooklyn, let's just say this: what does LeBron do when he looks at that team. And let's just say this, for this saying this, LeBron takes that team down. Where then do we put LeBron in conversation?
You elevate him over Larry Bird, but you don't put him anywhere near Jordan or Kobe. Straight up. I mean, yeah, great job.
It's gonna be a constant conversation. Now you got to look at the total amount. So right now he's at 4. That would put him at 5. I think he would
like 5 and 8.
I think he would surpass Kobe at that point. If you could take down that team, if you could take down that team of future 3, I don't know about Kyrie Hall of Famer, but 2 future Hall of Famers. Yeah, I think you would have to put him above Kobe at that point.
No. Now, if he does it and he's the only star on that team, yes. If he's got AD, if he's got like a Drummond, no. He would literally have to, that job that he did back in 2015, where it was just him and a bunch of other, then yeah, when Kyrie wasn't there, yeah. But no. You can't give them.
Yeah. The reason why I say this is because look at the Golden State conversation when he took down Golden State, right? When he played in Cleveland. It's like now you see what's built over there. Minus Blake Griffin, because I don't think Blake Griffin's going to do anything in that series, to be honest. He'll score probably like 6 to 8 points, but like you're taking down arguably a player that's on the same caliber of you with KD. KD put it on you in 2017, 2018. Yep. He put it on you. You know what I mean? When he was on Golden State, like you couldn't stop him, right? And you're going against your old teammates. So it's like that conversation now comes into play. Can you, if you beat that team, where does that put you?
Yeah. And I think the thing is, what we kind of fail to realize is that every team LeBron has been on, he was the leader. There was not, when he was on that team with the Heat. Yes, that was Dwayne Wade's team, but when LeBron got there, that was his team. Yes, Dwayne Wade took a back seat voluntarily, or whatever you want to call it. Chris Bosh took a back seat. Every single team, AD is taking a back seat to LeBron. So I get your point, Eric, but also I'm going to say he's been the leader on every team. So it's not as if he hasn't taken a back seat ever in his whole entire life. So that would put him equal to Kobe. That would put him at 5. And the amount of times that he's been to the finals, we overlook because he's lost a lot of them too. But the amount of times that he's been to the finals is still a crazy stat alone by itself. So
it is. He's definitely the model of consistency. He's definitely going to get you at least to a conference finals, if not to an NBA final. But I still can't put him over Kobe. I mean, the longevity and the amount of times that he's been to the finals, that means you've had more opportunities. He's had more opportunities than Kobe to win championship rings, but Kobe has a better percentage. And that's what I'm looking at. It's not the amount of times that you've been there. It's the amount of times that you've been there and won.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's always a good conversation. I'm gonna definitely say Lakers and Brooklyn. That's what I said at the beginning of the year. I'm gonna stick with that. Would I love to see Portland there? Would I love to see Miami there? Yes. Do I think it's gonna happen? No. Would I love to see the Clippers there? Yes. Do I think it's gonna happen? Probably not. But it is all going to depend on health, because LeBron, when was the last time LeBron missed more than a week from an injury?
Exactly.
Been a minute.
Can't remember.
The groin, he wasn't even out that long.
Yeah. And so
46 weeks, like, yeah.
Yeah. And he looked in pain, like something, like it was broken. The way I don't think I've ever seen him in pain like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes to like age, that goes to your body, that goes to what if neither one of them play in the playoffs? Like, what if, just hypothetically, that team's done. So then that goes to the next man down, which is Portland, the Lakers,
or the Clippers.
Yeah, that will make it very interesting. Melo needs that chip. Yes, he does. He does. He really does. That would be nice to see. But great conversation tonight from both of you guys. I enjoyed the energy and the conversation back and forth. Eric, what do you guys have coming up this week for the Ear Hustling podcast?
We are going to be talking about the unfortunate events that happened down over in Atlanta with the Asian shootings. Pretty much how this whole thing is just going to probably just take off the way the Black Lives Matter movement took over. You know, it was a terrible shame what happened. I was down in Atlanta the day before the shooting that happened. I was just coming in, and it was just, it was terrible. It was terrible. So we definitely are going to have a conversation about that and some other stuff too. So we've got a really, really good show, a real serious show that's going to be coming up on Thursday, 9 Eastern Standard Time on BS3 Radio.
Definitely. Also, make sure to follow their page, the Ear Hustling Podcast on Facebook, so you can like and follow the page there. Roy, what do you have coming up this week?
Oh boy, more conversations, just, bettering the mindset, bettering, the reason why our purpose is here, telling stories, and, just continue to keep building, So I've been kind of I'd like to release 2 episodes a week, as that was the motto and stuff like that. But now I just been 1 episode for right now, just kind of taking it easy, because I've been consistent all through like COVID and things like that. So just giving myself some more time back to myself and family and friends. And just be on the lookout. Mitchell Report Unleashed podcast,
Definitely. You got the website too. What's the website?
Oh, that's my personalized website.
Okay.
That's my personalized website, which is going through a rebrand. So that's what I got to really work on this upcoming week with Easter and things like that coming up. So that's what I'm going to start doing and all that good stuff. But I appreciate you, Ben. It's good to catch up, good to talk.
Definitely.
And we're going to do something in the future, the near future.
Yeah, I'm ready. And both of you guys consistency, Ear Hustling Podcast every week. I know, Roy, you dropping a couple times a week, man. That we all need that to hear different voices on different opinions. That's why I appreciate both of you guys and what you do, in the podcast game. So you guys have a great night. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Tam Rodriguez with the funny comments as always. Lugal, Chief Rocka, always gonna argue with somebody. That's his thing. He's a Knicks fan. He always arguing.
Hey, tell that Knicks fan, tell him this. He can hedge his bet over and under in playoff wins.
Big Illinois, Smoko Bella, thank you everybody for tuning in. Hopefully your team does well, and hopefully your bracket will get cleaned up. But you guys have a great night. We'll definitely be in touch to do this again. I love the camaraderie we had tonight. So y'all have a good one.
We appreciate you two being in. Go Blue.
Yeah, they got a shot.
Michigan.
That's right.
Boo.
All right. We're going to get out of here with a word from our sponsor, which is me doing it. So y'all have a good one. God bless. God is love. Peace.
Yes. Have a good one,
thank
guys.
you, Ben.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man.
No problem. Hi, it's Ben from BS3 Radio, and I'm here to talk to you guys about CASTANET. It's a software tool that helps people better engage their LinkedIn network and generate leads automatically. People who benefit from this technology are sales reps, sales teams, ad agencies, and anyone looking to connect with other people on LinkedIn. Here's how it works. Find your perfect customers, create outreach sequences, let CASTANET do the work for you. Software comes with a 7-day free trial, so no risk to give it a try. Go to the website, gocastanet.com. Once again, gocastanet.com.